As everybody knows, we have a lot of sources in the government with outside the government, and we track what George Soros is up to. But rarely do I read articles in the MSM that actually tell the truth and actually get what's going on, because I'm watching the left all over announce, we're going to overthrow Trump, we're going to burn down cities, we're going to kill him, you know, just everywhere the last few weeks, and then almost nothing in MSM until the last day or so. This article came out Saturday, but it's really started to break now, where they've got former CIA people saying that Trump's, quote, a domestic enemy, overthrow him. I mean, this is just unprecedented craziness over a national security advisor, lining up phone calls for the president. This is just unbelievable to see the whole power structure in revolt. And now, for like an hour and 15 minutes, Trump has been giving a press conference that we've got excerpts of. He's still going, that Hillary's the Russian spy, and it's all going to be brought out. And again, I've begged Trump personally. And the media, when they ask me about Trump, they never print this because they don't want this out there. Oh, you know what Trump said? He said this. The communist Chinese funding Hillary, the Saudi Arabians, they bragged in the newspapers they gave money. 1/5 of the money came from the Saudi Arabians. Totally illegal. Her foundation, all of it. The uranium, the $35 million for our uranium. I mean, this is crazy. She met with Putin twice secretly when she was Secretary of State. Quite frankly, under the purview of the president, she could do it. But now they're saying this president can't talk to the Russians? We're going to go to our guests in a moment, but here's just a minute or two of Trump from about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. There's a lot more. I mean, I just saw part of it. This is Trump getting into Hillary and the fact that this is the key. They're trying to undermine the election, say the American people didn't elect him, trying to make it like a Russian agent when she's the one in bed with him, and the communist Chinese and the Saudis and the Vatican and everybody else, the Pope, the whole Catholic Church turning against him. I mean, they're the ones that are weak, folks. We're strong, and Trump is so real. To see a real president in there calling the fake media out, it's amazing. We're on the New York Post reporter, Paul Sperry. I appreciate coming on here in just a minute. How Obama is scheming to sabotage the Trump presidency in a bunker 2 miles away with 30,000 activists. But first, here's a clip of the president.
And if I don't, does anybody really think that Hillary Clinton would be tougher on Russia than Donald Trump? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Okay? But I tell you one thing. She tried to make a deal. She had the reset. She gave all that valuable uranium away. She did other things. You know, they say I'm close to Russia. Hillary Clinton gave away 20% of the uranium in the United States. She's close to Russia.
Can we?
You know what I gave to Russia? You know what I gave? Nothing.
Can we conclude there'll be no response to these particular provocations?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything about what response I do. I don't talk about military response. I don't say I'm going into Mosul in 4 months. We are going to attack Mosul in 4 months. Then 3 months later, we are going to attack Mosul in 1 month. Next week, we are going to attack Mosul.
God, he's
Meantime,
awesome.
Mosul is very, very difficult. You know why? Because I don't talk about military, and I don't talk about certain other things. You're going to be surprised to hear that. And by the way, my whole campaign, I'd say that. Right. So I don't have to tell you. I don't want to be one of these guys that say, yes, here's what we're going to do. I don't have to do that. I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do in North Korea. Wait a minute. I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do in North Korea. And I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do with Iran. You know why? Because they shouldn't know. And eventually you guys are going to get tired of asking that question. So when you ask me, what am I going to do with the ship, the Russian ship as an example, I'm not going to tell you. But hopefully I won't have to do anything. But I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah,
okay.
Thanks.
That's good. He's unbelievable. I mean, I want this guest on, but back this up. I just want to start carrying Trump on the show because the media blocks what he really says and takes it out of context. I think we should create an alternate feed that when he's on, that on the satellite, if Trump won't start a White House Trump network, we should just have live people in live time, grab everything he does from whitehouse.gov and put it out on a radio and TV satellite. That's it. I'm doing it. I already have the TV satellite. That's it. That's it. I'm launching it. I'm launching the Trump network. You know, the American people coverage of the White House network or coverage of the President network. That's it. I'm announcing. You just heard it. Let's go to Paul Sperry. Paul, wow, what an incredible time to be alive. I followed your work for a while, but it is just crazy how on target you are to show all these foreign multinationals pumping money into 501c3s when Obama wouldn't even let Christians have 501c3s for 8 years, and just planning the overthrow of the government and just all sorts of destabilization and craziness. You have really laid it out in this article. Let's break this down. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, Obama is the mastermind behind all these protests and the sabotaging of Trump. Trump's hitting Hillary today in this press conference when he should be calling out Obama. I mean, this organizing for action is what I look at in this piece in the New York Post. It's listed as on Obama's new post-presidency website, one of only two organizations listed, the other being the Obama Foundation. In fact, he's going to merge the two organizations into this very well-funded organizing and protesting superstructure. And, he's bitter at the election results, and he's desperate to salvage his legacy. And that goes for everything from Obamacare to the Iran deal. And he wants to continue to advance the leftist agenda that voters repudiated at the polls. So what he's setting up here is a shadow opposition government, and it's already wreaking havoc on the new Republican administration. And it's, very popular America First agenda. And there's remnants of Obama's administration still deeply entrenched inside the Trump government, where they're sabotaging him from the inside. Meanwhile, Obama's building this shadow government that I talk about in this column from the outside to sabotage Trump and his agenda. So you've got Obama saboteurs working on the inside against Trump, and Obama saboteurs working against Trump on the inside.
And in your article, you link to all their own groups, their own statements. It's like it's not even hidden that they say we're going to sabotage the agenda. We're going to try to throw him out of office. Michael Moore is saying he is a Russian, not just he's a Russian agent with no proof, and that we're going to overthrow him. And they've got former CIA people running around like Evan McMullin saying he's a domestic enemy. I mean, this is like Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little worried if Trump doesn't, and Republicans, because they're getting hit too at these town hall meetings, and they're really going to get hit even harder next week during the recess by these groups, by Obama's group, OFA, primarily. But I'm a little worried if Trump doesn't get out in front of this and call it for what it is, actually directly call Obama out. Forget about Hillary. Hillary's gone. His main concern right now is Obama. I mean, the guy set up a bunker just down the street from the White House. He's got a mansion. He's got the offices, OFA, the Obama Foundation offices he's setting up in there. He's got his own chief of staff, press secretary. He's got a shadow White House just within 2 miles of Trump, where he can just launch and fire salvo after salvo against Trump just down the street. But I'm a little concerned that if Trump doesn't get out in front of this and call it for what it is, Obama could spark something on the order of a civil war here.
Wow.
I mean, he's really gearing up here over the next year or two to create a huge, very well-funded organizing and protesting infrastructure that's going to go after and constantly attack Trump and Republicans in this new administration.
Paul Sperry, Twitter, @Paul Sperry. Absolutely. I mean, looking at this, studying history, I've not seen anything like this in modern U.S. history. I mean, maybe the Civil War, like you said, has parallels or some parallels, but this is a civil war by elements of the government and bureaucracies and foreign foundations against the president, who is so clearly a populist, so clearly Americana, going up in the polls. And I agree with you at a gut level. I am more concerned about this than anything I've ever seen in 20 years on air. They mean business, and I don't disagree. They want to build this up over the next few years, but it appears they're making moves right now to try to topple the president. And
Trump and Republicans don't know what they're up against. I mean, there's no precedent for this. No other president has stayed behind in Washington, at least not in 100 years. No one since Woodrow Wilson.
And what's scarier is you're you're the only person pointing it out.
Well, finally, people are starting to call this for what it is, all these protests. This is a shadow government set up by Obama that's behind it, but it needs to get in the mainstream media, which, of course, the media is behind the protests. So every time they get a video feed from one of these marches or protests, they play it over and over and make it seem like this is some big grassroots revolt against Trump. Of course, it's not. It's just artificially manufactured AstroTurf. But no other former president has actively undermined a sitting president. Obama actually came out and did that with the immigration ban of the terror-prone Muslims.
He also encouraged all these demonstrations. He says, what you have in your article, heartening.
Oh, not just that. I've got transcripts in that story, him talking about, he's basically rallying the OFA troops and saying, go out there and protest Trump, and I'm going to join you in a big way once I get back from vacation this year. And that's what he's planning on doing. And, no other president has set up this kind of permanent protesting machine against another president. I mean, this isn't we're going to see over the next year or two, people are going to see it for what it is, because once he gets everything in place, Obama, I'm talking about with his Chicago presidential centers, his foundation, and OFA is going to be a part of that. Plus, he's going to be in Washington with his own compound there, just 2 miles from Trump. Once he gets everything in place, this thing is we're going to basically have parallel governments competing against each other. We've never had that.
That's right. So it's like a split civil war with the bureaucracies and the agencies and the branches all battling, and the Republican establishment backstabbing Trump, all because he wants to cut taxes on poor people and secure the border. I know you're the author of Infiltration. I'd love to have you back on to talk about your C-SPAN appearances in your book that I know has woken up so many people. But the time we have left here, expanding on just the larger aims, and I totally agree with you, that Obama's the big threat, that Trump's trying to be classy and say nothing about it, but Obama is out there undercutting him everywhere, out there criticizing him, and then out there trying to organize his overthrow. It's just crazy.
Former presidents usually go out. It's you have respect and courtesy even for an opposition party president. You go off into the sunset and you go fishing. And we've got a president here who's going back to doing what he does best, which is organizing and agitating and dividing. And that's what he's going to do. He's only 55 years old, relatively young for an ex-president, right? So
very young.
We're talking about him. This guy is going to dig in for a long fight. He's going to be attacking Republicans, not just for years, but for decades. And
his image is terrible. I'm not so much worried about him, but as you said, as a lightning rod, as a way to organize the media and what's behind him. He's a figurehead, but it's this big phalanx, that he basically is marching at the head of. And it just really shows a total commitment. When George Soros, the week after they won last year in November, doubled the amount of money he'd given the last year to all these communist and Black Lives Matter, cop killer groups, that really signified, oh my God, they're not going to back down. They're going to accelerate. And now there's a wild-eyedness to them that, quite frankly, is unprecedented.
Well, it's funny you say that about, speaking of Soros and some of these big donors, Obama took OFA, this is Organizing for Action, it was formerly Obama for America. He took it out of his 2012 campaign, turned it into a 501c4, so you can't see who's donating to this group. But I know they've gotten, huge blocks of $50,000 all the way up to $500,000.
Oh, it's the Saudis, it's the Chinese.
Soros. As well. We don't know who's giving this money, but boy, when he gets all that up and running, you're going to have, linking it with his foundation, hundreds of millions of dollars. This is going to be a huge...
Well, let me ask you this then. What do we do? And again, he wrote the key article, How Obama is Scheming to Sabotage Trump's Presidency. So I ask you, how do we, no matter what color we are, whether we're conservative, liberal, anybody can now see that the good news is that his approval rating, even in Cook polls, in Gallup, and in Rasmussen is up to 55. And so, that's up from around the election at 40-something. So very positive things are happening. People are getting his message, but at the same time, obviously a very dangerous climate. I'm just really thinking as a father, as a citizen, as somebody that loves this country and the world, with such a clearly good president who's doing what he said he would do, it's like it's a responsibility that I'm going to have to not just be on the air, but we're going to have to organize running for office, getting involved on the street, organizing the listeners to call C-SPAN and other shows. I mean, what else do we do? I guess go to these town halls, let folks know we're aware of what's... I think what you're saying is the battle has just begun.
Yes, definitely go to your local reps and senators' town halls and call out these people for who they are. They're OFA. They're Obama. They're not representative.
That's key. The media will lie and not tell you that the main push is Obama.
Right. Right. But the problem is most traditional Americans are nice people, and they do not riot or fight in the streets. They're too damn busy working and holding a job to march in the streets, while the other side has nothing better to do. These radical leftist protesters these Zelenskyites for Obama. And that's the problem. And the leftists get all the publicity on TV because the media is on their side. They go to these town hall meetings, they secretly record them, and then they feed it to the media. And CNN, MSNBC, they run it in a continuous loop and make it seem like this is some big sudden revolt against Trump.
It's a classic program.
3 months later, after everybody voted in this landslide for his agenda and his policies, all of a sudden, what it does is it starts seeding doubt into people's mind who even voted for Trump. And, well, boy, maybe people want to keep Obamacare. Maybe we don't want to secure the border. And it also gives Republicans cause to kind of second guess their position.
Gives them cover.
Maybe we shouldn't go back after this. I've met with my constituents. I go back and vote for this Trump legislation. Maybe I should reconsider this. Maybe the people are against this. That's what Alinsky, through Rules for Radicals, trained them to do. And by the way, I looked up these IRS 990s for this group, OFA. They're deploying an army of over 32,000 well-trained Alinsky agitators, and they've got another 25,000 that are being trained to bully Republicans into backing off border security and Obamacare right now as we speak. But these aren't the typical Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street rabble. These are professionally trained agitators who go through a 6-week training program in Alinsky organizing tactics, similar to the training Obama received in Chicago.
So now we're seeing him go back to his former profession.
Exactly. That's what he was never good at leading. He wasn't even really good at governing. I mean,
that's why he stirred the country up racially and divided it more than since the Civil War.
He's a divider, and that's the end game for Alinsky. Create chaos, civil war, and that will lay the ground, soften the ground for a revolution.
Cultural takeover, exactly. And that's what he says.
That's what he talked about, a revolution.
And let's not forget, who can make this up? He trained at the feet of the literal weather underground. I mean, you cannot make that up. It's just so insane that this guy could ever become president. And then meanwhile, if you get past all the rhetoric of the media, Trump is literally the unifier. If you hear his speeches, he's totally the opposite.
I know. He's actually the guy of the, I call him the blue-collar billionaire. I mean, it's oxymoronic, but he's more closer to the people than any of these Democrats. He's a true populist. But the problem with Obama is he fools so many people, including independents, into thinking that he's reasonable because he sounds so reasonable. And he doesn't dress radical. He doesn't talk radical. But that guy's radical. Trust me on that. And
well, I mean, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I mean that's what it's all about. And this classic divide and conquer. It is crazy, and it's dangerous. Well, I just want to say this: I've read your articles. I never interviewed you, and I've seen you on C-SPAN. But I'm impressed with your writing, the work you're doing. And Paul, I know you're a busy guy, but stay in touch with our producer. Anytime you've got something big you want to get an extra push on, or anytime you want to come on via Skype when you're not at work. Great job. I tell you, the New York Post is one of the only good papers out there. What we do without the New York Post, without Drudge, without a few other publications, I mean, none of us are perfect. We're just not out for civil war. So just in closing, in the minute we have left, what else is on your radar? What else can the listeners do? Because I think people should just realize we're in dire straits. The fact that Trump got in was because we were already in so much trouble, but now they're really showing us how nasty they are, only affirming our worst suspicions.
Well, you've got to call in and email in your local reps to counteract, because this OFA, they're flooding the switchboards and the inboxes of the reps, and you've got that'll help cement their spines, because you got to offset and counteract what the activists are doing against Trump. Trump and in support to protect Obama's legacy programs. But this is really a crisis that's developing, and because Obama's not just subverting the new sitting government, he's subverting the will of the people. 62 million Americans who voted for Trump and against the Obama agenda.
It's a fight, and, you know, Paul, we've come this far, but now we got to keep it. We got to deploy it. They're desperate because they know Bannon and Trump's plan is to turn on the engine of liberty, produce incredible wealth, empower people, and they know that their collectivism, getting people dependent, it's about to end, so they're fighting for their lives. But why don't they just give up and be prosperous? They're fighting for a lie.
Right. You'd hope that's what they would do, but no.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. Great job at the New York Post. Thank you. We'll talk soon. That was a powerful interview. That's a great reporter. We're going to come back and play some of these clips of Trump. Man, I tell you, we're lucky to have a president like this. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.